Hello my friends, it's Carpo again. Wasn't sure exactly how to title this video, nor really how to start it. I thought about it for about the last hour and I thought, no, that's too pretentious. Oh, that's a little arrogant. And finally come to the conclusion that if I don't start it now, then I won't ever do it. And that happens on a lot of videos. And so I'll start out by saying the idea of philosophy, and by me saying anything about philosophy, as far as historical philosophers, it seems pretentious, arrogant, and almost eye-rolling shallow to a lot of people, myself included. I have kind of a negative image of philosophy as a subject because too many people study philosophers. And too many people quote philosophers. And they romanticize philosophers instead of the idea. Now, philosophy means love of wisdom. It's two words, philosophia, it's love of wisdom. And it's the idea that the more information that we gain about life, the better off we are. The better we can cope with our own lives. Is that really so hard to understand? Is that really such a hard thing to comprehend? And is that really so arrogant or pretentious to think that people just want to live better lives? So I'm going to quote a couple ideas and or mention a couple ideas and quote a couple philosophers and give you an idea of why I think this is some of the most important, some of the most important subjects we'll ever encounter. I've got a stack of books here. I'm not going to go through them all. I've got one about ethics. Got one that's called Enduring Issues in Philosophy, which brings up, like, is God real, is God not real, and it basically argues counterpoints. This one I loved, Hallucinations by Oliver Sacks, and one I'm reading right now, Nature and Psyche by David Kidner. And these are all just random books about who we are and why we are the way we are. And I just grabbed them off the shelf because I thought, well, they're a good example of what I'm getting at. Trying to understand people means that we have to kind of dig into the human psyche. Schopenhauer, who was a philosopher, he had this idea that we needed to abandon our desires. And when I heard that, I just thought, yeah, no shit. That's Buddhism 101. I mean, yeah, abandon our desires. But that doesn't answer any big questions. Those are obvious things. But Nietzsche, he kind of resonated with that idea, and he was influenced a lot by Schopenhauer, apparently. And one of the subjects that they were discussing was, he discussed was pessimism. And understanding where a lot of these old school philosophers were coming from, I try to put myself in their lives. They didn't live in the Western world where everything was given to them and they had perfect shelter all the time. These people were ridiculed, they were outcast, a lot of them were arrested for their ideas. The church had a lot of people imprisoned because they had different ideas than the church, and this is why I'm so opposed to organized religion. Organized religion allows people to take advantage of it and to punish other people for not believing what they believe. So, pessimism is, as I was saying, pessimism is used as an excuse for inaction by people. And what I mean by that is, to give you an example, a lot of YouTubers or reporters on various alternative news sites, they talk about how the whole world is fucked. The Illuminati's out to get you, and you're doomed, and vaccines are going to kill you, and everything you do, you're totally fucked. And therefore, this pessimism is used as an excuse for inaction. Like, well, there's nothing you can do. The government is out to get you, and, you're doomed, so you might as well just scream and raise your fist up in the air. People like Alex Jones, for example. This is the epitome of the opposite of philosophy. It's ranting and raving, lunacy. So, you'll never hear him once say, hey, here's a petition we got to try to stop this problem we got going on right now with the frogs. It doesn't happen. They don't exist because these people aren't out for answers. They're out for calling out the problems. And this is kind of the shallowness of society. So as I bring these subjects up, I start thinking, oh, that's arrogant for me to think that I know better. But there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. And I have confidence in the fact that my awareness tells me that there's a lot of bullshit out there, and I can see bullshit when I know it. And if I can't trust my own judgment on that, then my philosophy is bunk. So, a lot of people choose profit over development. And what I mean by that is they are looking to make as much income as they can, whether it be financial or profit through having people like them. They might have to lie and fool their way into it, but it puts people into kind of a trap. And many philosophers of the past have seen this. And so it's one of those main points that you have to avoid. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to not be influenced by other people's bullshit. And when you start having a little faith in what you believe, and other people doubt you, you know, you should still be willing to criticize your own beliefs. That's one of the main crucial points. But be strong enough to stand up for what you do believe, because the masses will try to bring you down. They will try to bring you down to their level. They will try to convince you that, oh, you're wrong, you're deluded. So there are a couple things we can do to understand ourselves better. One of those is to premeditate on future evils. And that's, a well-known philosophy from the ancient past is to think about death, if you will. That's the extreme version of it. Think about mortality. Realize that you will die. It makes life so much more precious. But by seeing the bigger picture of things, it takes away the power of stress and anxiety over our lives and allows us to kind of see things a little clearer. But the other one is to look from above, and that means to compare everything from all angles. Look at the size of the universe. Close your eyes and really do expand yourself out into the universe. How many people really do that? You know? How many people spend the time to close their eyes and get to know themselves, or at least even think during the day? It's constant distraction. Phones, TVs, radios, music. It's, and we're all guilty of it. The Western way of life is designed to distract us. And so when you look from above and you compare yourself to the infinity, you realize how absurd it is to fret over small things. But also, the deeper you look, the more you find that not all truths are good. And that means that you will discover things you probably didn't want to fucking know. And I mean that. You will discover things that were disgusting or absurd or just confusing to the point where you wish you could go back to sleep. And that's what people really mean when they talk about being awake. This whole woke thing, most of these people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They're just saying, oh, I heard about a few conspiracies, and this is what the government's doing, and there's aliens on the moon, and yeah, I'm woke. No, that's not what it is. It's about finding yourself and your truth, but also, and of course there's conspiracies out there, but it's about utilizing truth for daily life and taking your power back. There are factions of government and organizations and groups that want you to be dumb, that want you to be ignorant. And I hate saying that because then I start sounding like one of those lunatics. But it's true. We all know it's true. People make a lot of money off of ignorance. So everybody who goes to work at a certain place and doesn't say anything and just goes along with the flow and doesn't, make waves, that's just more profits for the industry. And sometimes that's a good thing if it's a good company, but other times it's not. And many of us are kind of stuck in jobs where we don't maybe really support the company we work for or their ethics, but we're forced to get a paycheck because we have to feed our family. And this is the conundrum. We can't all live within our philosophy. So, as I said, not all truths are good. And one of the most crucial things we can do to understand whether or not the truths we know are real is to attack our own beliefs. always, constantly be attacking your own beliefs. This is one of the greatest tools that we have. Don't believe anything that you believe, if that makes sense. Question your beliefs constantly, and you will always be in flux. Constantly changing and adjusting and flowing, just like a river does. A river doesn't stick with the same shape. It bends and curves and floods in the off season, and it takes a new route. That's just how life is. One thing is that if you are a philosopher, if you're a truth seeker, you will suffer. It's a lonely path. And because of that suffering, we, kind of withdraw in certain ways. And I personally don't even discuss certain subjects that go through my mind because I just don't want to go there. But one of the things I'd like to say is, as arrogant as it sounds, is if you're a philosopher, you can't be fooled. And there's nobody in the world that can send me a product or bullshit me into buying something that I don't need, because I have no expectations. I know the lies out there, and it reminds me of a thing that I heard from Manly P. Hall, and he was quoting someone else, but he said, "An honest man can't be fooled, and a philosopher is an honest person." And not being able to be fooled means that you don't expect free shit. You don't expect miracles. You don't expect somebody says, "Hey, I'll make you $100 off 10." Hey, you get what you deserve. And there's a lot of suckers out there. They're born every minute. But you realize that the real gifts in life don't come from profits. They don't come from income. They don't come from your job. They come from your insights. Those are the ones you live with 24 hours a day. So, one person said that consciousness is a disease. And I thought about that. I thought, that's pretty accurate. Our awareness is holding us back, but it's also what's given us the ability to move forward. So I don't see it as a disease. I see it as a disease, but it's also the cure. And as they say, the cure is always in the dose, right? So you can use the intelligence to move forward, but we're going to have to deal with a lot of bullshit in the meantime. And there seems to be a difference of perspective on power before God. And what I mean by that is, one of the largest things that hold us back philosophically is religion. Because the minute a person says, "Hey, I understand the universe and I can feel my own truth and understand myself," there's always some religious nut there to say, "Oh no, that's Satan talking." And I say to that, bullshit. Satan has to go away. When people say, "Well, the universe must be intelligently designed," I say, fine, so be it. Doesn't mean that Christian God did it. It doesn't mean the Muslim God did it. It doesn't mean that Judaism is correct. It doesn't mean that any of the religions are correct. Perhaps we are all created. Perhaps evolution is the grand design. My philosophy is that the universe is a rose blooming, and that evolution is unfolding as creation, and that the power behind it is so great we can't comprehend it. I'm happy with that. It's okay. Some people aren't happy with that, and so be it. But if you have to define God, if you have to define the universe, then good luck. That's all I can say. One thing also is that a lot of people, I'm going through a phase in my life where I feel a little bit negative about certain things, and I'm not negative. No, I should say I'm confused about life. Where I want to go, what I want to do with my future. It's very natural for, somebody who's 43 years old. The midlife crisis really just means you're kind of rethinking yourself. And the one thing I've learned that's important is, don't wait for those negative emotions that you have, or the stresses or anxieties, to fade before you move forward. They are inspiring you to move forward. In other words, it's those very emotions that make us want to do better and to improve our lives, if you will. And they push us to change, and sometimes it can take a year or two, and that may seem like a long time, but it's not. We have to be the self we desire, and that's very difficult, The material world that we live in, the productive forces, it was Karl Marx called them the material productive forces, and he said it was the end of humanity, so to speak. The idea being that, nobody really understood what he meant by that, but I do. It's the idea that we're working towards an end we don't understand. And so I'm definitely not quoting Marx as a hero. It was just a thought that I came across. But we live in this illusion that things are a certain way. Each one of us is predisposed to believe that the universe is constructed in a certain way, because if we don't have any type of framework to how the universe works and how our lives have meaning, then we can't survive as individuals. We can't remain coherent and conscious and not have meaning in our lives. So if we're going to have meaning, I think it would be great if we had a future where we could acknowledge that our different purposes, there's nothing wrong with that, our different interests, that's great. But we all do have a common interest to improve the, the depth with which we think, the amount of time we put into understanding ourselves and those around us. Because the more we understand ourselves, the more we understand those around us. And, I'm out. I don't know what else to say. I'll talk to you all soon. A wonderful day. Be well. And don't forget your personal philosophy does matter. Don't let the idea that you feel arrogant or like, well, that's my personal thing. Like, I think, oh, who am I, some guy to make YouTube videos? But people get something out of them. And I can't deny that. So I keep making them. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming to Carlo's channel, yo. Yeah.